to another episode of the Rooted Connections podcast. My name is Uju and I've got my girl with me.
Hi everyone, my name is Pam and welcome to another hopefully exciting episode of the Rooted Connections podcast.
It's always exciting, come on. It's
Always. But let's just set the tone. Let's set the tone and hopefully get everyone to come on board as we explore our topic for today.
Indeed. You're looking rather fly. I love the hair color.
Thank you. I know I look better than I actually feel right now. I've had a crazy week, but
But that's adulting though. Every week is crazy.
adulting is a scam.
It really is. If
I want
I
to
knew
go on
I won't...
holiday every day.
Even holidays, so sometimes you go for holiday with children and you come back, you're even more tired than the holiday.
I want to go on holiday by myself.
Fair enough.
I should be clear.
Fair enough.
By myself.
When was the last time you did that?
It's been a few months actually, and although it was a weekend away, but it was good.
Just you?
Technically, I went with someone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was 2 adults, no children, no spouses, just 2 adults on holiday, and it was fantastic.
Indeed, for clarity, it was another lady.
I know my cousin.
For clarity, before we
it was my cousin.
Let's be clear. This is we are putting this out there. Oh, but I can't remember the last time actually I went on like a girls' trip.
I think people need to do that a lot more. Either a girls' trip or just an adult-only trip. It's so refreshing. Honestly, I like the whole concept of going on holiday with kids. Yes, for the family experience, memories, and all of that. But just taking time out for yourself, and not having to worry about what's
no responsibility.
Do you understand? It's amazing. Well, it feels nice. I've done it a few times, and I have to say, I would definitely
enjoyment minister.
Thank you.
You know how to.
I'm not even going to deny it. I love it.
All right. I want to be like you when I grow up.
Don't worry, we're all together.
I'm looking at you.
You don't have choice.
All right. So we're playing a game today, right? Aren't we?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily a game. I just I love these cards that kind of make you think. Like our thing is what rooted connection. So let's go deep. Let's go a little bit deeper. So I'm gonna try and pretend that I've gone through the cards, but I think I picked the one I actually really like. So hopefully we can explore.
Well, me, I've not yet picked, so I have to choose.
Well, you try and find one, but I've picked one already, so I'm gonna read that one, and we will both answer the question. So you pick one, I pick one, and then we both answer. Okay.
All right.
So the one I picked, which is what advice would you give to your teenage self?
For me, it's not that deep. Relax. You have your whole life ahead of you. Ask questions. Listen, because you don't know it all. But more importantly, relax. All these things that you're stressing about now, in 5 years' time, they will be meaningless. So just chill.
100%. And this question, the reason I picked this question is I'm literally going through this phase now because I have a teenage child.
True.
So explaining some of these things and giving her some of these advice from my own experience and point of view, but also trying to put it into perspective, her own sort of the era they're in now being so different to how we grew up, and trying to find the balance of how I do that has been, I would say, quite challenging. But one of the things I keep saying to her is like, for some reason, and I don't know whether we were like that or to the pace that these young people are doing it now, there's this rush to just do things. They want to know things. They want to go everywhere. They want to wear things. And one of our biggest fights right now is on clothing.
She wants to. I'm very fitted.
And I'm having to give a little, but at the same time remind her that you'll get to a point where the minute you're 18, I want to be able to feel confident that I've left you with as much of the good stuff, Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
to make the right decision.
Exactly. I think
and if I leave you to kind of just, because it's almost like sometimes we're at that constantly battling about clothes, makeup, and all of that. I mean, the whole shebang. I'm not even joking. And it's been hard. But I keep saying to her, there's no rush. You will do all of these things, and I will not even. You'll get to a point that you'll be tired. You'll be tired, and I won't have to. But it's like, no, but everyone is doing it. That's another phrase.
But think about it though. When you were that age, when your parents were telling you that they will get to a time that even you will be tired, did you believe?
I didn't.
Exactly. So it's the
I'll
face.
be honest, but I didn't. But I wasn't. I would say maybe my my nature as a person. I'm not adventurous like that. I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, do you understand?
Okay, that's
that
fair.
need to. Maybe because I was sheltered a little, and I'm trying not to be that kind of mom to my children. Do you understand?
That's fair. That's fair.
But I didn't. I wasn't.
You weren't as testy.
I wasn't. No, I didn't
And you
have the
didn't argue.
opportunity to be. They're no
I
born me
think
well.
that's the issue.
They're no
They
born me
would
well.
argue for their case.
Yes.
When we were told don't do it, you will grumble, and at most you will do it behind your parents' back.
Exactly. And that's what I don't want. I don't want her to do certain things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have to accept that she knows me well enough to know what I'm going to be okay with and what I'm not going to be okay with. But at the same time, I don't want her making extreme decisions behind my back.
Yeah, I see that, but all you can do is try and talk.
That's it. But yeah, like you said, there's no rush. Take your time and just be a child. There's this hurry to do things and know things that is, for me, outside of their what they should be knowing.
Well, I suppose that's the speaking of teenagers now, I think that's another fundamental difference, is that they have access to more information than
we did.
So part of the reason why we didn't argue is we didn't actually know as much.
Sure. That's a fair point.
Right. Okay. So my question. Okay. I think. So, what's one of your craziest stories from your teenage years?
Oh God. Do you know, it's so ironic. And I think I'm going to contradict myself now. Because I've just said I wasn't testy and I didn't do things behind. But this is an opportunity to be honest. So I'll be honest.
Okay,
I'm thinking of one of the worst things I did as a teenager. So I was in and out of boarding house in my secondary school back in Nigeria. And that was, for me, one of the fundamental parts of my upbringing. I loved being in boarding house, but I think more as a senior student than a junior student, because that's a whole nother story.
That's a different topic.
But anyway, the one memory I have, which was when I was doing what the equivalent of GCSE, we called it WAEC. We were doing our WAEC at the time, and I was in boarding house, and my friends and I, we had a mixture of day students and boarding students. So whilst we're getting ready for exams, we used to leave school. So as a boarding house student, you're not supposed to leave school.
Well,
you're not allowed to leave school.
Well,
but my friends and I, were very testy like that. So days where we felt, you know what, I'm done with this environment. I want a different environment.
You just leave.
We leave school and go and stay with. And we had quite a few friends who their parents were they were quite liberal. And they didn't really they knew what we were doing, but at least they knew we were safe. So we would come to their house and stay over mostly weekends. So we go on a Friday, come back on a Monday morning. On this particular weekend, I heard my mom had come to see me in school. She decided, well, we didn't have phones, so I didn't know she was coming, and I wasn't expecting her to come. So clearly, I wasn't in school.
So you give your mother a heart attack.
Yeah. So she came on a Saturday. Obviously, I wasn't around. She came again on a Sunday. I wasn't around. Then she came Monday. So Monday morning, when I arrived in school, everybody was Pamela, what was going on? Oh, your mom has been coming to school since Saturday. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, she had come again and luckily we came really early because we wanted to try and sneak in time before we get caught. So we sneaked in time, got into the hostel, and I just came out like I was already in the hostel because she had come back again on
Monday morning.
Yeah. So I just lied and said, I was in school, because I was reading for my WIC. I went to stay in the junior's dorm. And she's like, hey, I've asked everybody to go around looking for you. So yeah, thinking about it now, that was one crazy memory that I remember that I had.
We're very sorry.
We've since talked about it and we've laughed. But now as a mom, I can imagine how terrifying that would have felt.
Of course.
But at the time I didn't know any better. I was my own. I'm having fun.
Living your best life.
And that weekend was really we a bunch of girls were just in one of my friend's house just messing about. I remember then. I don't know if you remember Cool FM just started at the time.
Yeah.
So we used to call in and request for songs.
Oh God. Oh my God. So this is what you were doing and your mother was looking for you.
Bless her. And she would
can't imagine the heart attack, honestly, because she's like, I've left my child somewhere that I know that I should meet her every time I go.
But can you imagine on the real though, if anything had happened to me,
she won't even think that. No. You might even see, there's an accident somewhere. You will not even think that your child could be involved because I think your child is in boarding school.
We took because this friend lived in Apapa, so we used to take the bus. So we'll jump on the bus.
Try
public transport, and get to Apapa.
Please, mommy, I didn't know her then, so I wasn't. I have to put that disclaimer.
Let's not say some of our own.
No, that's not for today.
All right, okay.
Right. So what are we talking about today? Let's get to it. So our topic for today is how do we term it? Once a baddie. So first off, I suppose let's define who's a baddie, because I think there is the definition of baddie in terms of just the way a person looks. So if a woman is overly confident or dresses a certain way, there is this assumption that she's just a baddie, that she definitely cannot have gotten this success and this confidence from any good thing. She's definitely a bad person. And then
easily think of examples of that,
Yeah, and a lot of times these people just aren't like that. But yeah, I get it. There's a stereotype, and there are people who that's their background. Then of course, there's the definition of baddie as in somebody who has lived a very interesting, adventurous. They've lived life on their own terms. They do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Even life circumstances has caused them to choose or to a certain path of life. I've heard of, for example, girls when we were growing up. Some girls have come from very deprived backgrounds and almost like not having a choice. But then you hear about them because they want the need to survive, so they have aristos or older men that they kind of sleep with or just to get by. So that all I feel encompasses that whole ideology of what we're trying to say in terms of being that reputation.
Okay, so my question then is, are there any what's the word I'm looking for, justifiable circumstances like what you've just raised? So is that reason enough?
So I came across this article, and I think just to put it into context of what we're trying to say, I'll read just a snippet of it. So, so it's about this lady who has lived the life that we're trying to explain. So I started having sex when I was in my early 20s. My first sexual partner was a guy I'd been dating for a couple of years and whom I believed I'd end up marrying. When he broke up with me, I was 25. I was devastated. To get over the emotional pain, I became a serial dater. It didn't take much for me to go to bed with the men I went out with. If they bought me gifts, complimented me, and showed me affection, I was theirs. Between the ages of 25 and 32, I was intimate with more men than I care to remember. Most were one-night stands, and the rest were short-term flings. Then he says, I was numb to love. I hadn't noticed it at the time, but looking back, I was so hurt from my breakup that I resisted forming emotional connections with the men I dated. I also convinced myself that if they wanted to be intimate with me, it was because they thought I was special, lovable, and desirable.
All right. Wow. Okay. So there's a lot of layers to this person then, because it's the disappointment and not should I call it grieving? But yeah, not getting over that loss, and then layering that with finding that affection in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And we all know, if you look back, a few people who have been down this sort of road. But I must say, when we were younger, even I am not sure I gave people enough grace that this is what they're dealing with.
Their story.
Or some people may even have it from childhood. It could be, I know of a girl whose dad actually used to molest her, and she eventually, as an adult, was very promiscuous. But all we just looked at, this girl is promiscuous.
Of course.
If she's around your boyfriend, you hold him tight. But we didn't accord her that grace that this girl is based on what she's experienced. So I suppose what we're trying to now get at then now is, in our society, can you actually outlive that reputation, or does it follow you?
I don't. I think the simple answer is no. I don't think that within the African community or society, I think they're deeply entrenched values that people are supposedly to have around situations like this, right? So as a woman, you are supposed to be good. You're not supposed to sleep around. You're supposed to save yourself. You're supposed to keep yourself for your husband. Do you understand? Unfortunately, it doesn't always work like that. In fact, the reality is it is not always realistic. So the reason I felt drawn to this particular story is this is the reality for many women, right?
True.
Where there's that void you feel from your first breakup, or even not necessarily your first breakup, but your first true love, if you could put it that way, deep connection with somebody. And when that is abruptly taken away from you, right, there's that need to want to fill the void. And that's what causes many women to make this kind of mistake. And to answer your question, unfortunately, people are not giving that grace, understanding as to why. There's no question as in why has this person made this choice? And actually, it's a choice. Can it just be that somebody has experienced these things and they've come to a point in their lives where they've made a turnaround? For many of us, it was that, okay, we met God and we had that genuine connection with God and turned our lives around. But let's put a bit of a spin on that. Even in church, if your husband to be or somebody that you're talking to in church and is starting to look like it's going in that direction, how many men are forgiven enough, knowing that you've had that kind of past, that will still go ahead? And if God has forgiven you, can they forgive you?
Well,
knowing that some people might know who you are or you in your past life.
Should I answer what it's supposed to be or what it actually is?
I'll join everything.
What it's supposed to be, if we're talking in a Christian context, if you believe in true salvation and this person has repented and that God saved all of us from something, then surely you should be able to get over that.
Right.
You understand what I mean? Because that's what it should be. And I can also understand, in all fairness, people who don't have the capacity to. Because some people just can't get past certain things. So I suppose if there is an honesty there and the guy is like, honestly, this one is a bit too much for me.
Okay.
But I think the worst one is where you find a lot of people, and a lot of women, or even men as well, get into this, where you now get into the relationship and every argument, it comes out.
Comes back to that.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
She smiles too much with your friend. It's because you like him. No. But in actual fact, yeah, to your point, I think, yes, you should be able to, as Christians, if you believe in genuine salvation, and this person is sincere and has been honest with you, you should be able to move past that.
Okay.
But I think the one thing, though, that holds a lot of people and prevents them from doing it is that what will people see? Which is the last bit of your question, because perhaps the friends or his friends will know that this girl has been around, and that no matter how he likes that girl, no matter how he sees that she has changed, that just being able to stand in the midst of his friends, and you know that maybe one or two people there have been with your wife, is the one thing that they can't handle.
They can't seem to get past. And the truth of the matter is, this doesn't apply to, if you spin it, this doesn't apply to men.
No.
That reputation does not, even, in the same, a man will even happily tell you that actually, I've lost count of I don't know my body count, if there's such a thing, right? And it's not a deal breaker. No. For many women. For
some, will tell you that you should feel special.
Yeah.
That you're the one that made him.
Exactly.
That can hold him.
And the truth is, even without him saying it, actually, that's a very good point. Without you without him even saying it, you will feel special. That for you, this bad boy has decided to
drop his player ways.
For your sake. You are a special.
Don't want to be a player no more.
Special somebody.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And I just feel like it's really, really unfair. And because of that, many women do not actually want to share. Not because if they felt safe enough to, they will. But they end up not sharing. Hence why it now becomes a problem. Because maybe somebody that knows somebody now finds out that actually, this auntie, I know you from back when.
In the day.
Yeah. And this is how you were. So how do you, and I think the point we're trying to raise here is, everybody needs to be given that grace, because everybody has a story.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think anybody, even people who maybe nothing traumatic happened to them and they just doing whatever it is they want to do, I don't think anyone genuinely does that knowing that it's going to have this detrimental impact on their life and just carry on with it. Some people are just having fun, and they don't, based on the way they were raised, they don't see that as a big deal. We're just having fun. And I suppose let's contrast that. We live in the UK, and that's part of the things that was actually a shock to me when I came to the UK, just how free they were with certain things. And it has no real, should I call it, repercussion in your later life, because what you did before you met me is what you did. Yeah. That's their attitude. You tell me, that's why, be open and honest with me, but that's what you did before me. Is it who you are today? No. That's fine. And I think it's something that perhaps we need to learn a little bit from them, because I don't think that your past should never have an impact. It will. It's what shapes you. But should it always be this big detrimental impact on you? Mm-mm.
And I think, interestingly, there's a massive shift with the Gen Z generation and downwards. They don't really care. Most of them do not hold the values that we hold, or the level of standard of morality that we hold. I do not feel that for them it's a deal breaker, like how it was for us.
I agree, but I also think a lot of them are taking it way too far in the other way, where they don't actually, the word you use, the morality, they are not holding on to it. A lot of them are not standing for anything. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. And I think it's just in generally.
You get what I mean? Yeah. So I think that in itself is also a problem, because they are going way too far in the other direction, where what would they then be as adults?
Extreme left.
Do you understand?
Extreme right.
At least when we were growing up, I think these people are the exceptions. Do you understand? So, but now where the norm is like you do what you want, then what morals are they going to be in the society when they are and that's one of my fears, honestly, for my children, because it's like you're trying to pour all this into them, and then they are going into a world that is telling them, actually, you can do what you want.
That's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's scary. It's very scary.
Indeed.
But I suppose that's probably something we'll talk about a different time. But just focusing on this topic of being a baddie, I think it's really unfair on women.
100%.
That somebody can live a certain life, and when they make that choice, and that's why I use the word choice. When they make that choice, I mean, if somebody is deciding that they want to carry on, that is on them, the consequences that comes out of that. You understand? If they decide, okay, oh, this is my life, this is what I want to live. There are loads of women that say that I don't want children, I don't want a husband, I just want to enjoy my life. That's okay. That's up to her. But the point is, if somebody now decides that, okay, I've lived this life, this is my past life, I've left it behind, I don't want to do that anymore. Now I want to focus on having a family, for example. And she's open and honest. I think there should be a safe space for her to be able to say that to whoever is showing that interest. And again, it's about the when. When is it appropriate to share that? When can she be open? Knowing how the general perception will be.
I suppose for me is, we're talking adults here, when your relationship is getting to that point of seriousness, you would know. And I think that's where you need to tell whoever it is, male or female, actually, because this thing we're saying, I think there are also men who, the reason why they've slept around a lot, actually, is because some girl has done them something.
Of course.
So everybody is dealing with some emotional baggage. But yes, to your question of when should you say it, I think is at the point where the relationship is starting to get serious.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not going to tell everybody that you're in talking stage with, if that makes sense. But when the relationship is starting,
talking stage thing.
Talking stage is where you're getting to know each other. Like, why you're still talking.
I've been out of the game for a long time, so I'm trying to understand talking stage. But yeah, okay.
Okay, talking stage back in the days, when you'll be
the toasting.
Hey,
it's now talking stage.
Hey, when they are calling you, those midnight call.
Right.
That's talking stage.
Thanks for. It's been quite interesting because I hear it all the time. I was like, what? Like, at what stage you go from talking stage to actually now say, okay, you're in a relationship?
That's when you formalize the relationship.
When you formalize it, okay. Right. Okay.
But I think when at the stage where you are getting serious, because I think once you've gotten serious with the person, it then becomes harder to say those things.
Yeah.
Because you are now entering deception.
Yeah.
At that stage. Yeah. So you need to be, and I don't think realistically you'll be getting into that serious stage with plenty people. Yeah. So you shouldn't end up in a position where you are telling your story to plenty people.
Too many, exactly. And I think it's, for me, in just sort of concluding on this, I think that if I'm willing to be forgiven of whatever past life a guy has had, I think I should be afforded the same grace as well.
100%.
I think that's just the point that we're trying to raise here. That, see, this whole idea of morality, to some degree, can be very damaging for many people. The sort of standards that we hold, which sometimes are very unrealistic within African culture. Not saying it is not important, but in the context of what we're talking about, if somebody has sort of left a particular life behind, let it be their past life. That thing should not continue to follow them everywhere they go. Everywhere they go, oh, I used to know you, and this is how. It's really unfair.
100%. I think the key here is the change. If it's sincere, from a genuine place, because you also do have people that, and I think maybe that's the fear, that you change in quotes because you are now 35 and you want a husband. But deep down inside, you don't see the error in what you did before. You get the point I'm making. And I think that is sometimes the fear with people but so as long as that transformation is sincere, somebody has genuinely moved on from the way they used to live, male or female, I think they should be afforded that grace. And more importantly, try and understand why this person went the way they did.
Yeah, there's always
you
a story.
Sit down and have that conversation, you may then realize actually it really wasn't this person's fault.
Yeah, and it's just a simple life happens. Life happens to many of us. People go through things in life, and unfortunately, sometimes you make bad decisions as a result of that. But that should not be what should define you as a person.
100%. We're Christians, and if we believe that whatever we have done, we can lay it at the foot of Christ and ask him to forgive us.
Absolutely. That should be afforded the same grace from whoever, and not actually in not even just from in relationship perspective. I think in general.
Yep.
In general.
Yep. Because to be fair, some of the worst culprits are not even men in terms of putting down other women.
Fellow women
some
themselves.
Of the worst culprits are actually women.
Yeah.
And we don't afford each other that grace, but yet most of us expect that forgiveness from other people or from God.
Yeah.
I think you have closing us out. You're going to close us out with a quote.
So I picked this card, and it states, females are the most beautiful, gorgeous creatures, in the whole world. And I think that we are gorgeous no matter what size we are.
Oh, that's awesome. And who said that?
That's by Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys.
And I think, interestingly, I was watching something where I think she's now no longer using makeup anymore.
Oh, wow.
In this whole idea of this is who I am, and she's a fine babe. She's beautiful.
And I think the ultimate message there is, ladies, you are beautiful
no matter
what
what size, no matter what skin color, no matter the tone of your skin, whatever, you're beautiful. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
100%. We hope to see you next time on the Rooted Connections podcast. Like, subscribe, and please share. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.